Hi, I'm Gary Metivier. We are not far from Arlington National Cemetery here at the National Mall. This is where people, of course, remember the sacrifice of so many, the World War II Memorial, the Korean War Memorial, and of course the Vietnam Wall. A man returning from service in the Middle East wants to make sure, though, that everyone who helped save American lives is remembered and that no one is left behind. He takes us to the heart of his story.
You can't go in that building. It's a trap. What they were sacrificing is unbelievable.
He had to leave to protect his family. I mean, this was real then, and it's still real now.
The true danger starts after you go home because you have no protection.
Two boys raised a world apart.
I love it. I can't imagine being anywhere else. I mean, I know, growing up I had a lot of friends who said, "Oh, I can't wait to leave this area." And I said, I've never felt that way. I still never do. I
Originally was born in Basra, which is south of Iraq, but then I moved when I was young into Baghdad.
Yeah, I did sports, football, baseball, or football, track, basketball, a little everything though.
Like I remember growing up in Basra as a kid, watching the army goes by, the army convoys goes by, and they throw us bullets. Like just because we wave at them and all that, they throw it at us. It's a live ammunition, and we just, to play as a child, that's what I do. Like take those bullets, stack them, and knock them down. That is life.
Both boys with big dreams.
My dad was the chief of police in Toulon for almost 30 years. I remember as a young kid wanting to be a police officer.
I always dreamt to be an engineer. I remember my mother took me once. We were shopping somewhere and I asked her, "Mom, what is this building?" It was a huge building in the middle of Baghdad. And she said, "Son, this is an engineering college. And that's only where the smart people go." And I told her that one day I want to go in that specific college. And call it fate, call it persistent, I end up in the exact same college that I pointed out when I was probably 10 years old.
Thought about the military too. It was always fun as a kid to play, Army.
They grew into young men. The world around them shaped shaped their futures.
The whole journey started with this. I mean, during the war, before the war, the media, it's all pictures of the Americans coming in, stealing our oil, destroying our country, and abusing the whole society. So naturally, you develop a sense of resentment towards the invaders, if you may.
At the time I was trying to figure out, what I was going to do next after high school, how I was going to pay for college. But somehow I found myself in a recruiter's office and, one thing led to another, and that same day I signed up. I mean, that was it. It seemed just like the right thing to do.
I remember every afternoon, me and my friends, we used to go play soccer. And one day, none of my friends were there. We were supposed to go to play a game, and they were all surrounding the Americans. I remember one of the soldiers was telling his friends, "Look at that Slim Shady coming up." And I didn't even know what that means, but back in the day. I told him, "Don't call me that." And he said, "Oh, you speak English." And we talked a little bit more about why they're there and what's their agenda and purpose. And the more I talked to them, the more that I was convinced it's the right thing to do to help them in any way, shape, or form.
You know, we ended up in Iraq, and like I said, that was a huge shock to me. Signing up, I never thought that was a possibility.
Now together in a war zone, one a soldier serving his country, the other an interpreter hoping to save his.
It was almost probably on a daily basis they were keeping us out of trouble, honestly. There was one day we were out on patrols, and I had just driven under an overpass. As I'm coming out the other side, there was a van that had pulled up on the overpass, and some guys jumped out and they fired some RPGs at us. And one of the RPGs hit real near where my Humvee was at the time. Missed, it didn't quite hit us, but it was real close. Eventually we get to this building, and the van with the guys in it who'd fired the RPGs at us, they had gotten out and they entered the building. The interpreter we had with us said, "Look, you can't go in that building. It's a trap." And sure enough, it was. It was an ambush. It was totally, they had the whole place wired up with explosives.
The true danger starts not when you work with the U.S. in the convoys and such. It is actually after you go home. That's because you have no protection.
When the Americans went home, the battle for the interpreters, the dangers remained.
Suddenly, in the middle of 2004, that's when things changed, and some religious guy said, "Okay, anybody who helps the army, it's declared a traitor," and that's when the hunt started. I have survived so many assassination attempts. I've been shot at. My car got blown up. My house was burned. And one day I went to visit my family, which my father, my mother, and my two sisters. And obviously somebody tipped somebody off. And as I was leaving, I left, and they, so-called insurgents, came in looking for me, and they couldn't find me. So they killed my father in front of my mother and two sisters. And they told my mother, "That's the price your son has to pay because he's a traitor."
In 2006, a special visa program offered him a chance to leave.
I was among the lucky ones who my application was accepted, and I left the country the end of 2007. And I came here, and I just my sky was the limit. That was my dream. It's just I can do anything without being prosecuted for my religion, my beliefs, my color. And that was, to me, the dream. I live by the words that there is no such thing called big dreams, only small dreamers.
Come on down, Lawson.
I've got a great wife. We've been married 9 years now. 3 kids, 2 boys, and a girl, 7, 4, and 1. And I love it.
Living the American dream, but haunted by the reality that many interpreters are still living a nightmare.
I heard from John there's still a lot of interpreters, and they're stuck. They are still in hiding.
It's something that I think about every day. I think about those people that were left behind, and those people that did give their lives for the cause, and people who had family members who were injured, kidnapped, killed as a result of their helping the U.S. To me, I can't, it's not something I have ever forgotten about. And I just don't feel right knowing that there's still people there.
People like this man we call Jaguar, Skyping John from his latest hiding place.
So right now I'm moving to the 4 different houses from the send you the message, and this is very expensive to me. My mom, my brothers, they fighting too hard to keep me survive.
Jaguar applied for refugee status with the International Organization for Migration in 2011, but that process is stalled. A second interview with IOM was scheduled. and then repeatedly canceled a number of times. John then began contacting state reps, inquiring why, after 8 years of waiting, this man, who he considered a hero, was unable to flee Iraq to safety in the U.S. Each time, the response was the same. It is typical, they said, for refugee cases like this to take years to resolve, if ever. And the only course of action was to wait. But can Jaguar survive that wait?
I'm stuck. I can't work, and I can't leave, and I can still survive here.
Raising his family in hiding, knowing one day when his high school-aged daughter is old enough to marry and her suitor comes for permission, another choice will have to be made.
What can I tell him? What can I tell him?
Yeah.
So I have to pass. Maybe I ask him for maybe give me maybe a time to think about it, and after he leave, we take our stuff and we leave this area to different area in Baghdad, looking for a different house, different area. Just like that.
But there is hope in veterans of war like John, GQ, and Paul, who were there with him.
And to bring these interpreters in, they became, a part of us. They were part of our family, our brotherhood, and they were vital to everything that we were doing. One of our interpreters, he actually had to flee the country because his father was murdered because he was helping us. His sister was kidnapped and raped, and they threatened to kill her too if he didn't leave, and he left. He had to leave to protect his family. I mean, this was real then, and it's still real now. I really hope that these guys, we can come together and we can find a way to allow these individuals, give them a pass, give them a streamlined way to get here, get their families safe, and let them give back.
Each of them now on a new mission.
I just hope that this can start a movement that can help others to see. It's not the lack of compassion. It's a lack of knowledge. A lot of people don't know people like me exist.
When people hear what has happened, I really am hopeful that there will be change. I think people will say, you know what, that is not right. There shouldn't be people that we've left behind. Allow them the opportunity to live a life outside of hiding.
There are things you can do to help. Check out NoOneLeft.org. Hey, help us share more inspiring stories. Click on that photo of me and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell a friend. More cool stories coming. The Heart of the Story with Gary Metivier.